All right, Cody, it's September 17th. We're gonna do a first crack at a fantasy football podcast. Neither one of us knows shit about fuck. Um, yeah, so I know you have some sort of plan to walk us through. You have an idea of what you want to cover and how you want to do it. So take it away.
So how about we introduce ourselves first?
Cody, no one's listening to this.
What if this gets out one day and then they're like, "Look at your first podcast. We don't know who these people are." Um,
Well, if they like the content, they'll come back for the second one and then they'll learn a little bit more.
okay.
You really have to tease the audience. That's what I've learned about podcasting.
You're an avid podcaster. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I mean, something we're going to be doing is
I
going.
actually, before you start, did I? I did tell you the story that whenever I was looking for apartments in Charlotte, one of them actually had a podcast studio that was an amenity.
No way.
I'm not even kidding.
That's awesome. I mean, that's just how big this is now.
Yeah,
It's just
anybody
like,
can do it.
yeah. I just funny. I have a couple of a couple of people I know. Um, I've done podcasts. Like they've only done one or two, and they stopped. So like my plan is for you and I to do more than one and two, and maybe do like five and stop. So we'll be above the average. But
And then next season we'll do six, and then we'll just keep building.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of go through and pick out what games we think fit our eyes. What fit. Cam and I are um, two different styles of fantasy football. Last year, Cam kicked my ass, probably 13 out of the 16 weeks. Cam, agree?
No, not even true. It was much more even than that.
Oh no, Jake kicked her ass.
Yeah, it was Jake,
But
who won't
Cam
be a
also,
part of this podcast because we're that pissed still.
yeah, we don't like him. And Cam actually bet a lot of money one day and didn't do DFS for a couple weeks.
Well, yeah, that's the teaser. Come back to learn more. It's a good
um,
story.
okay. So yeah, we're just gonna go over a couple games. So how at least I look at fantasies. I look at it a couple different ways. I look at the team totals the first thing. So this is only going to be the Sunday slate. This is not going to be the Sunday night and Monday. So it's just a couple games that pop out to me. I think Dallas and LA. I think that's the 55 total. I think that's huge. LA's a 3.5 point favorite. Do you buy that, Cam?
Um, just taking a step back real quick. So the reason we're looking at the totals, the higher total means more points scored by both teams, means more fantasy points all around. So, um, that's why it's always good to look at these. So you said five. You said what now?
LA, the Chargers are 3.5 point favorites at home against Dallas.
Um, yeah, I think I think it's going to be another game that just comes down to the absolute wire. You look at what Dallas did to Tampa Bay last week. They took them down to the wire. They're able to move the ball creatively, mainly through the passing game. Chargers are not a good run stopping defense, so Zeke's going to be more heavily involved. But with the receivers that they have, they're just going to force feed all of them through the air too. So I think it'll be a bit more balanced on Dallas's side this week. And yeah, dude, I think 55 is a good spot, and I really do think it'll come down to the wire.
Yeah, I
And
completely
I
agree.
do think the Chargers will. Um, Honestly, I think the Chargers are going to lose.
Okay, well there it is
I,
first.
I was looking at that and I thought LA Rams, but I saw yeah, the Chargers. I think the Chargers lose. I think Dallas wins that game, and it will be high scoring.
Okay, well there it is. There's your first pick 'em for the week right there by Mr. Cameron Twilly. So we're just gonna go through. So I mean, I think one thing is we don't want to go through and pick the games with the low totals. I think I look at Denver and Jacksonville. I think there's some different ways you could play some Denver players. But I think we're really just gonna focus on 3 to 4 games and really see uh what we think is gonna come out on top.
Yeah,
So Cam,
but before we skip over that game, this is another take this week. The best value wide receiver on the board this week is Marvin Jones Jr. in Jacksonville.
Really?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Hold on. I'm not ready to have just like stats queued up, so just give me a second here.
You a rookie? What are you,
Yeah.
some kind of rookie?
This is my first time ever doing this. So looking at Marvin Jones Jr. this week, they're playing, Denver. Um, I mean, they do have a good defense, but they do give up quite a number of yards in the passing game still. Um, and they're Jacksonville's gonna be forced to throw the ball a ton. And you look at what Marvin Jones did last week. He had 9 targets, 5 receptions for 77 yards. Also got the touchdown. He's a guy that historically in Detroit, he could give you 55 in 1 or 2 weeks throughout the season. Um, so to be able to get 9 targets for $4,700, I don't think there's a better value out there.
Okay, well there it is. Cam likes his best value wide receiver is Marvin Jones Jr. I'm gonna write that down. I don't have a pen and paper, but I'm gonna write that down. So Cam, I think looking through this, we kind of talked about Dallas and LA, so I think let's start there. So, um, there's a couple ways you can really run this. So as I go through and I look at some of the sorry, here, let me look this up here. As far as the pricing goes, I think there's some of them that are priced pretty high. So Dak is 6,800. Um, hold on, I guess I don't know how to really. Oh, this is what is this? What is going on here? Sorry. Anyways, Dak's 6,800. I think I said right, and then Herbert 6,700. So, out of those two, who do you think will? Who do you think's the best play?
The best play out of those two, I mean, priced to um, point projection. I'm taking Dak again just because the amount that they throw the ball. He's gonna put up points in any given week. I'm not playing him. Um,
Sure.
I think there's some better options out there. But that being said, I think he's only a slight step up from Herbert. I value them kind of the same this week, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this is why I like talking to Cam about this. I think I'm on the other side. Herbert is going to be I mean, he's a star now, but I think he's going to be the future of the league. I think it'll be him and Mahomes a lot of times for MVP discussions with Josh Allen as well. But I think Dallas's defense and secondary is very rough. So Tom Brady put up 400 yards last week, and Tom Brady's 50 years old. So, I think this will be a really good game to where you can, um, you know, do a Herbert, do a Mike Williams Herbert, do a even an Eckler Herbert. I really think Herbert's going to go up on or go over Dak. I think he's got more points. I think we need to have a tracker somehow, Cam.
Uh,
Like as
yeah,
far
we
as
could do it
like
like a take tracker or something like that.
yeah, like who we pick. So like I can try to type this stuff in. So, um, okay. Cam, what else do you see in this?
So just going back to that initial question. So the only reason I'm would put Dak a little bit ahead of Herbert is just the receiving weapons. His are definitely better than what they have in LA on the Chargers side. So I think it gets him a leg up. Um, and then you said just like other thoughts on the game just in general.
Yeah. So then we can go. We talked about
Yeah, sure. So this game right here, again, like so looking at just values, just overall in DraftKings, right?
right.
So you have um and these are my so I have 3 wide receivers that I really have top of mind this week, and here's 2 of them, and they're both in this game, and they're both on Dallas' side of the ball. Um, so you have Amari Cooper and CD Lamb. I want both of them in all of my cash lineups. Reason being, I think they're incredibly undervalued for the amount of targets they get. Last week might have been a fluke,
6,400
but
for
to to
CD.
be to be honest with you, I don't think it is. So you know, looking at them, right? So Amari Cooper's at 6,800. He had 17 targets and 13 receptions. Then you look at CD Lamb. CD Lamb is 6,400, and he had 15 targets, 7 receptions. Both guys had a touchdown, and Amari Cooper had more than one touchdown. and both had over 100 receiving yards.
Okay. Yeah.
And so you look at any other guy above that, and you're not going to see somebody who got the same amount of targets and the same amount of production as those two guys right there.
You don't think Keenan Allen will have a better week than Cooper or CD?
I do think Keenan Allen will have a great week. Don't get me wrong there, but as far as those other two guys are concerned, they're cheaper and are projected to have the same target share, and that's what I look at when I'm trying to build my lineups personally is who is going to get the ball in their hands the most at the cheapest price.
For sure.
So,
Yeah, and I
and so
think
that's why I'm taking those two guys over Keenan Allen.
for sure. And I think like, you can't go wrong with CD Lamb or a Cooper, but I think playing Washington defense last week. I think Mike Williams was interesting last week. I think maybe, I had 12 targets and Keenan Allen had 11, and I think they scored 16 points last week. What was the score of that game? Do you remember?
I don't off the top of my head,
I
no.
don't either. It was like I think it was like 17 to 14 or so. I could be completely wrong. Um, so I think that's something too. Is like I'll take that bet against you. I'll take Allen versus or have a better game than CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper.
Okay, yeah, I'll take
So
that.
it sounds like I mean you picked Dallas to win, and I think LA's gonna win. That's this is interesting. This is interesting. Um, so I'm just gonna type this in. So talked about Zeke, Cam. What do you think Zeke is gonna be this week? I think he is 60. He's cheap, 6,200. Right. So do you feel comfortable playing him this week in cash?
Um, yeah, I do. I think he's one of the better values. He's last week was an absolute total fluke, and I know there's a ton of Zeke owners in fantasy just absolutely panicking,
Play
but
Tampa Bay.
um, yeah,
Best
and
front
Tampa
seven.
Bay's defensive scheme is very unique, right? So and they handled it well. Um, Unfortunately, that scheme just doesn't allow to hand the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott. But this week, that being said, even he played an overwhelming percentage of the offensive snaps. This week's going to be the same, if not more, and he's going to get the ball. He's going to get 20 to 25 opportunities, whether it be carries or receptions. And yeah, I think he'll have a monster game. Like I said, I think he's one of the better values.
Yeah, I think a lot of us played. I drafted Zeke last year in year long fantasy, and he kind of bit me my ass. He had some good weeks. He was hurt. His line was hurt. And he got paid last year. Correct? He got paid that off season? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Um,
the offseason before the previous one.
yeah. So, I think that's a good one. I think another thing too is Eckler. I think a lot of people are gonna be off Eckler this week. I would assume. I don't know. Maybe not off is the correct
Yeah,
thing, but he had 0 targets. What do you think that was about?
yeah, I don't know. I really don't. And I haven't looked deep enough to know if like Justin Jackson came in, and if he got
One
one
target.
target. So to be honest with you, I didn't watch them play. It was one of the games I didn't get to watch this weekend, but to me that's just a fluke. Like this offense is gonna throw to the running back, so um, yeah, I do think Eckler is if you compare Eckler to Elliott, in my mind, I value them there very similarly. I
Hmm.
think they're both going to get similar opportunity, similar work, and you can get Elliott at an $1,100 discount.
Yeah, I agree. I think Zeke is a very good tournament play this week too. Um, Great value. So, what Cam and I talk about, we talk about cash lineups. The head to heads. That's what we like to play. Towards the end, we're gonna put in. Uh, I don't know what to call it. A way out there lineup to win. The Millie Maker. I think we're gonna try to do that each week. Cam and we've known each other for a while, and him and I are pretty competitive towards each other. So, we've multiple nights we've stayed up, we've talked fantasy, and it's really I don't enjoy anything more. I'm so glad football's back to sit down, watch Red Zone last week. Cam, I know you have the Sunday ticket. You have about 6 games on, so I think that's awesome to see. I mean, how pumped were you that you watch football Sunday for 10 hours?
Yeah, had 7 different screens going. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Super excited. I'm gonna miss it this weekend going to the Panthers game, but
Yes, yeah, that's a good game to go to. That's a very good game to go to. So Cam, if you look at this, and I think what other game are you kind of looking at and targeting?
um, so I of course have my quote unquote my guys. So we talked about Marvin Jones in Jacksonville. We talked about the two Dallas wide receivers.
Mhm.
Um, the other guy that and we can stick with wide receivers, I guess. The other guy that I'm really targeting is Cooper Kupp
Okay, I like that one. I
for the
like that
Rams.
one. Um, yeah, and keep going. Sorry, I was agreeing with you. I really like that pick.
No, no, no. Like I think Matt Stafford and that offense is just an incredible upgrade. And I think everybody sees that. And you look at Cooper Cup's target share. Per usual, he's racking up double-digit targets. He got last weekend. There's a touchdown where I think statistically it was like the largest separation touchdown in NFL history or something crazy
Hold
like
on,
that.
hold on. Let me just rewind that. So I'm the Chicago Bears. That's my team. Unfortunately, we're gonna go through some tough times the next couple years. That was blown coverage both times, right? So I just want to make sure like it wasn't Cooper Cup to anything crazy. I mean, Matt Stafford is good for him, but it was blown coverage by Gibson and good old Eddie Jackson. So sorry. Continue. I had to try to defend. Well, it's not really defending them. I guess it's making them worse than what they are. So keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, I Eddie Jackson has fallen off. His career's over.
Man, why?
Um,
Dang it.
but anyway, so Cooper Cup, he's another one of those guys. You look at volume for the right price, and he's sitting there right at 6,000 on DraftKings,
Oof.
and he's going to get 10 plus targets for the week. This past week he had 10 targets, 7 receptions, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Um, he may not score this week, but he always has that chance. He's one of the few slot guys that always has a chance to actually get out there and get a touchdown too. So yeah, I'm big on him this week.
So okay, so what about like games though? Like what I think the one thing for cash and this Cam is a very analytical guy, right? And I think you can kind of tell the way he talks. I'm more just like, what does my gut tell me? I don't. It's kind of sort of gut feeling. I play a lot of D Eskridge. I play a lot of Andy Isabella in some weeks, and Cam makes fun of me, and they've never hit. So, what about like? Games, Cam. Like, when you look at games, you look at game stacks. What is? Let me ask you this: do you like game
Yeah.
stacks and cash?
Um. So when you say game stack, you're talking about like, if it's the Chargers and the Cowboys playing, then I have, CD on one side and then Keenan Allen on the other side, and I play both
Correct.
of them, right?
Yeah, yeah, and
Um,
yeah, and even maybe a triple stack, maybe a QB wide receiver, bring him back with a receiver.
yeah, I got you. So I am not against that strategy. For me personally, I find whenever I try to take that route, I'm always left with a spot in my lineup where I'm like, okay, who the hell do I plug in here? Because I have no money.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it always winds up just being like you're at the tight end position and you're playing Tyler Conkle or whoever the hell the guy is
Did
for
you see what he
the
looks like, by the way?
I have not, but and like occasionally those will pan out. Like we played him week 1 and he got us 8 or 9 points and I think he was like $1,200. And so like sometimes it works out. But like I would rather go for more consistent, especially in cash, go for more consistent safe options that have a little bit of upside.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I completely respect that, and I get that. It's just when you have a man that looks like I wonder if I could pull up what he looks like on here. I don't think I can. Actually, I can. Hold on, I'll pull him up. This man looks like Aquaman. He's a big, handsome son of a bitch. Oh wait, hold on. I gotta click on the. Hold on. Gotta hold. Cam? What's your like? What's the one player you played before and like was the complete shot in the dark? And you're like, I don't think embarrassed to play him, but like, you know what I mean? Like, my plays. I have a bunch of them. Who is your like? Why did I play you?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it's Tyler Conklin.
But he was 2.9. He got his they 8.1 points. Like, I think that's his value.
Oh, 100%, but that was a complete shot in the dark. Like nobody in the world has ever heard of this guy, and it was week 1 of the NFL season, and it was just like, hey, let's see what this guy's got.
Yeah, yeah. I respect that. I
Like
respect.
they signed Chris Herndon. I think they gave up like a 4th round pick for him, which is decent value for a guy to bring in at tight end. And so you're expecting him to come in and be the guy, but he didn't see the field. It was little to no time to prepare, so understandable. But this was like the only tight end they had on the roster.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I think I've had Andy Isabella's probably the one person who came back, and it was not a good thing. So that's awesome. So I think as for me, I think another game. I think there's 3 games really you want to attack this week, or that I'm gonna attack, maybe 4. So Atlanta and Tampa Bay, like a lot of like that's a 51 point total. Tampa Bay is a 12.5 point favorite. I really think like with that, it's what I'm looking at there. It's going to be. I feel like pretty lopsided. Cam, do you feel that that's going to be the outcome?
Yeah, I mean, if there was any team that showed us their absolute total garbage, it's Atlanta. Um,
We
there was
like.
no team that would look worse than them, and Tampa Bay's arguably the best. So yeah, it's going to be a dumpster fire.
Would you play Calvin Ridley at 7.5 this week? How bad they looked?
No, I wouldn't. So this game right here in particular, I think there's some interesting tournament plays. So one of those is on the Tampa Bay side. Mike Evans, he didn't do anything last week at all. I think he had like 1 target and 1 reception for like 12 yards or something stupid like that. He's a guy that for 7 consecutive seasons has had 1,000 receiving yards. So, nobody's worried about him. But or actually, well, he had a lot more.
Yeah,
6 targets. Okay, so he had 24 total yards.
just a bad game. I
um,
think. I think
yeah,
Gronkowski was in the scheme. I mean, he came back from the dead. I think Antonio Brown came back from the dead. Can you imagine this team in the primes of AB, Gronk, and Brady?
unreal.
I mean, you could how good their defense is. I mean, their secondary is pretty bad on Tampa Bay. So I think that could be a way you could attack. Um, attack Tampa Bay because I mean Atlanta's gonna throw the ball. I think last week the game script was somewhat neutral for a little bit. I just think they just look so bad. Sorry, voice crack. I'm a grown man, still get it. I think Calvin Ridley. I don't want to play. One person I think is good sneaky play this week is Kyle Pitts at 5,200. Cam, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
8 targets.
So my only concern there is one, Tampa Bay's defense is very good, and he definitely does get. I would value him as just a. I would almost value him like a slot receiver.
Hmm.
Like he's going to get targets. He will catch the ball. The thing is, I think there's going to be very limited opportunities for scoring on the Atlanta side of the ball, and that's why I'm completely staying away from them.
Yeah, I think I get that. Tampa Bay's defense was good last year, but I don't. It wasn't their secondary. I'm trying to look up what they were last year, as far as what they ranked. Um, let's see. Um, yeah, I mean they were the okay. They were the 6th best defense in yards given up. I think that's okay. I did not expect that. So let's look through. So I'm looking at what their defense gave up in the passing yards, and this actually might shut me up. So, um, Kansas City gave up 243 yards. Um, sorry, my phone's ringing. Green Bay gave up 314. They gave okay. So the last game they played against Atlanta last year was 250 yards passing. That was week 17, and then in week they played in week 15, and they gave up 332. So, I think I would be fine with Kyle Pitts this week. I think 5,200 is a good price.
Do we want to talk about tight ends? Because we're not going to go back to the game where I think the best value at tight end is.
You're gonna say Noah Fant?
Yes,
Yeah,
1000%.
I have Noah Fant playing in all my leagues this week.
He,
So
he he is
yeah,
undoubtedly the best value this week.
4,200, and Cam. So Cam, talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, so especially you look at week one. Jerry Judy's going down in this offense. They no longer have him, so you're looking at guys like Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler to step up. And a lot of people are really high on them. But I think if anything, that's just going to give more of targets to the people who are already there and established. And one of those people is going to be Noah Fant, and he's already looking at 8 targets. If I don't know if he can pull up his stats from last season,
Sure.
but the last half of last season, he was on fire, man. He was as consistent as they come from a tight end perspective. And I think that's just going to continue. He's going to get, you know, 7 to 10 to 12 targets a game. And always as a tight end has that upside for scoring. So, which is actually kind of funny because Teddy Bridgewater being the quarterback there now, he's historically never favored the tight end ever. So to see Noah Fant involved and heavily targeted in that offense, I think is a huge testament to his talent.
Yeah, I'm trying to um, pull up his stats right now. I think I have, not really sure why it's not giving me. Okay, here they are. Um, So what I mean, so you look at the last half of the year. So he had 6 targets for 4 for 48. He had 9 targets, 11 targets, 7 targets. So he's getting targeted quite a bit. I think obviously with Fant, the one thing you worry about is his durability. He's a freak of nature. He came out of Iowa. Uh, Iowa just produces a really solid, like I feel like high level NFL talent, like George Kittle, Noah Fant. Of course, I'm going to name two, but they have some defensive linemen, some good tackles that came out of there, but they're just never good. They're never good. So yeah. Anything else in that game, Cam?
Nope, that's it. I'm done with that one.
Okay. So Cam, I just talked about Tampa Bay and Atlanta. What other game are you kind of looking at, and
Um,
you see some juicy value, some juicy picks?
Actually, stepping back to Tampa Bay, Atlanta, another quarterback. I think insane value. Tom Brady. I don't think you can go wrong with Tom Brady ever. Um, I mean,
Yeah,
he's the goat.
he
He's
throws in
gonna
the end
he's
zone.
gonna sling touchdowns. He's not gonna get you anything in the rushing game, but when you're looking at quarterbacks as a whole, you're gonna have your guys that are really paying up for the Kyler Murrays, the Josh Allens, whatever. And Tom Brady's not that much cheaper, but at 6,900, you can expect similar production. So I think he's probably the second best value at quarterback this week.
So you're telling me you would take Tom Brady over Jalen Hurts?
Yes, I would. And it's all lineup dependent, right? It all depends on how much money you have to spend. But like as far as who is going to outproduce, in points, the amount of money that they cost, I think Tom Brady does that.
That's like we have like 4 bets already, by the way. And I'm probably gonna lose all of them, but you know what? I'm still gonna come out swinging. I don't care. Um, okay, okay. So, what other games do you see?
So other games that I'm interested in, um, I think the Seattle game
Yes, I
is
was
is
hoping you'd pick that.
interesting. So Tennessee, Seattle. Uh, I mean, I don't know what's going on with Tennessee. I think they're trying to figure out what the hell to do on offense. Um, they just didn't look good last week. Their offensive line is trash. Their defense is very mediocre. And yes, they have Derrick Henry, and yes, they have two absolute stud wide receivers. But question still to be answered is can they produce? Um,
Let me ask you this: Is Tennessee that bad, or is Arizona that good? I think Arizona's that good.
to I mean, you can go ahead and note this one down. I've said this before. I think Arizona one. I think Kyler Murray is going to win MVP. I said that before the season even started. I think Arizona makes the Super Bowl as well.
Yep, I do. I was the I didn't go to the Super Bowl, so I mean I'll respect that. I said they were the dark horse of the NFC West. The NFC West is not one bad team, and it's that's awesome. Kyler Murray, I think the first 5 games last year before he got hurt, he was an MVP, like 30 points a game. I mean, he's just really good, and I think that offense and D Hop and all that is awesome. Anyway, so Seattle and Tennessee. So it's in Seattle, and it looks like it's going to rain. So would you even go near Derrick Henry this week?
Um, for
8,300.
the yeah, for the amount that he costs, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Again, like I want to spend that money on my wide receivers this week. I already talked through those, the ones that I'm interested in, and kind of paying up at that position. Really, the only person that I'm interested in this game is Chris Carson. Like, I think he is again, and an incredible value. Like, he is going to get the ball in his hands. He is the guy. He gets red zone work as well. If you just want to pull up his stats there, since you're hovering over him.
Yep.
Um, so, you're looking at 16 carries, 3 targets, 3 receptions,
Which is
100,
big.
100 plus yards, all purpose offense. So, anytime I can get a guy that's going to get the ball 20 times, for his price this week at 6,100, I'm taking him anywhere I can get him. And, last week he didn't score. If he puts one of those 20 touches into the end zone, instead of 13.7, you're looking at 20 instead.
Did you watch him
Um,
run?
no,
If you look at this man's face and you
he
watch him run,
he
wow,
runs hard.
dude,
Yeah.
like man. And I think
I
one thing to note is Rashad Penny's out. So they have Alex Collins back there. I don't know how much he'll be used, but I think that's big for Carson. I really like Carson this week as well. Good value pick.
Yeah, 100%. When you said have you seen him run, I thought he was like there was something wrong with him and he was running funny. Like but yeah, like he runs hard, man.
Crazy.
He's a
So
fun guy to
I
watch.
want to go back and you said the only person you're interested in this game is Carson.
Yep.
Okay. So I look at, what happened as far as the big play goes, right? So, I know we're on DraftKings, so it's really just it's PPR format, right? But why not, Lockett or Metcalf? I mean, Julio is 6,300. I think that an AJ Brown 6,900. I think those could be really good, maybe more tournament plays, maybe not cash plays. Would you want them in tournaments?
I mean, and again, it all depends on individual strategy, right? Like I don't dislike either of those guys. Like my thing is so like if you look at both Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, right? I think both of them had 5 targets, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
5 targets. Yep.
yeah,
DK Lockett had 5 targets.
and so like the way that Seattle plays, like that just makes sense. Like
Sorry.
Russ Wilson's just hucking it down the field. Hopefully one of them run unders it and catches it. But like again, like when I play cash lineups on DraftKings, I am targeting volume more than anything. And so like you look at those other 3 receivers that I mentioned with CD Lamb, Amari Cooper, Cooper Cup, they're double the targets, if not more, at a cheaper value. And so that's why I say I'm not targeting anybody else but Chris Carson, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, and so if you look at the odds, right? So it's a 53.5 point total, the second largest game of the week, right? So what I feel like you're saying, well, I mean, this is just the way I think about it. They're 6.5 point favorites. Seattle's 6.5 point favorites at home. So you think this game's not going to be 6.5 point? You think it's going to be more lopsided? It's going to be more Chris Carson. So you would more be like I mean a 36 to 13 to 15. Well, you
Yeah,
scored
so,
15
so,
points,
so
but
this is one of those games where I think both teams are more than capable of running the football. And when you have 2 teams that are capable of running the football, it really slows down the pace of play.
so you'll take the under
Um,
in this game.
I would take the under on this game.
Yeah, I could see that. I think one thing that I did read this offseason is the new head coach for Seattle. Um, I don't know his name, but basically they said like they always do. They're going to come out hot. It's going to be quick. I mean, Russ was 18 of 23 with 4 touchdowns. Like that efficiency is insane. He had 9 rushing. He had 5 rushes for 9 yards. I think those are probably just scrambles. So yeah, I really think like as far as tournament goes, I would be very comfortable like a lineup to play like a Ryan Tannehill and run it with AJ Brown and even like Julio. I mean, a nice double stack. I think I wouldn't hate that. Cash, I would not play that. Tournaments, I would 100% play that, and running back with Chris Carson. That I think it's a good thing there. So anything else? Any other uh, positions you want to go over in this game?
Um, so one, just to touch on Julio Jones, he had a very terrible week. I I think I think he will get settled, and I think they will figure things out, and these guys will become more relevant. If you wanted an just a, and it may not be a flyer. I don't play tournaments, but I think he's a potential one. Julio, plug him in after a bad week and see what happens. But only other thing from this game is you said that Seattle got a new head coach. Did they? Is it not
No,
Pete
new
Carroll?
offensive coordinator, new play caller.
Oh, offense store. Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
And you know what? So did Tennessee because Arthur Smith went to Atlanta. So I think that's tough. That's really tough.
Yeah, hundred
Um,
percent.
I am now that I said that I am fact checking what I just said that and now I'm like, did they get a new offensive coordinator?
While
Shane,
you're doing that, can I go ahead and throw out my worst quarterback on the week?
um, they did get a new coordinator. Yes. Go ahead. Worst quarterback on the week. Ooh, I'm
The
interested.
the
Wait, can I take a
the
guess?
the worst fantasy football quarterback of this week.
Let,
Yeah,
let,
go ahead and take a guess.
so in my head, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking you're looking up
And I don't mean in terms of value or anything. I just mean points scored.
Tua.
It's not Tua. I'll give you one more guess.
Okay. Let me think like Cam. Kirk Cousins. No, I wouldn't play
Nope.
that guy anyways. Who is it?
It's Sam Darnold.
Oh, well, that's not surprising. You
I'm
think?
betting against my own team.
Do you think that the New Orleans is that good on defense? Huh?
I think New Orleans is. I mean, if you look at that team, everybody was like, "Oh, it's an end of an era in New Orleans." But like, legitimately, what has changed other than the quarterback position?
Which was probably holding them back.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I okay. You want to hear an incredible stat?
Yes,
So
always.
last week, Jameis Winston threw a 50-yard pass.
Hmm.
Like the ball traveled 50 yards in the air before the receiver caught it. Okay, Drew Brees has thrown close to 9,500 passes in New Orleans and has never done that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's just insane to me.
Man, Jameis was running last week. Jameis was throwing 5 touchdowns. Hey, let me ask you this about they whooped up on Green Bay. Do you think Green Bay is trouble, or do you think it's just a bad first game?
I think it's just a bad first game. Like, and they had a whole off season just riddled with noise and not everybody being together for practice and all this. But I think this week against Detroit, big bounce back game.
Yeah,
I think they set the record straight, and Green Bay they may go the rest of the season and only lose a total of 3 games.
yeah.
I'm
They
like I'm not putting that on record, but I could see that being like a possible thing.
Yeah, they play the NFC North and the NFC West this year. So if he loses 3 games, that's impressive. I think that's tough. So I think we've kind of talked about a few games. I think we can really start to dive into as far as player goes. Like I think we didn't talk about New England, the Jets. Are there any players on there that interest you?
New England and the Jets.
It's a 43-point total. New
Um,
England's favored by 6 in New York.
so I think really the only players that So what I like Damian Harris. I'm that's not like me saying, hey, like he's a play this week, but like I just like him, and he was able to run the ball so well last week.
Look at
Had
his
over
value,
100 yards rushing.
$5,400.
Um, and like I do anticipate New England being up by quite a bit in this game, so I could see him getting similar amount of carries, 15, 20, 25 touches. Um, my thing is like, he's not super involved in the. Well, actually, I look at this now. 3 targets last game. It's not bad at all. And
No.
Mac Jones, he's doesn't mind throwing to the running back, so he has that going for him, and yeah, so I think he's like a guy I'm kind of looking at. Um, on the Jets side, or sorry, not I'm not switching to the Jets yet. Jacoby Myers is one guy that I really like this week. If you're playing in
$5,100.
a tournament or anything like that, he's another guy. He gets a lot of targets for a good value, and I I think he like you can put this on the notepad if you want. I think
Yep.
Jacoby Myers scores a touchdown this week. I do.
Oh, he had 9 targets. I think if you go back to the end of last year, he was really starting to pick up on his yeah, on his production. Having Cam Newton there was kind of tough, but I would do that too. I think doing a I played Mac Jones last week in a tournament and I stacked him with Jacoby Myers and had 6 catches for 44 yards. Was not didn't win me any money, but I think that's also a good pick. I think, and from the Jet side, I think Corey Davis would be okay. I think other than that, I don't want to touch anybody else in this game.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, again, this is tournament play focus. Wide receiver that's going to be back for him this week, Jameson Crowder. When Sam Darnold was there, he was getting peppered with 10 to 12 targets a game, week in and week out. And who knows how, Zach Wilson's gonna value Jameson Crowder in the offense. But, like I said, total flyer, see what happens.
Total flyer. I agree, man. Um, there's nothing better than drinking a Bush Light and talking about football with your bud.
Yeah, I finished mine about 15 minutes ago, and I don't want to disrupt anything,
Hey,
so I'm
just
just
I
sitting
I'll,
here waiting for this
I'll
to
tell
be
you what.
over
We'll
so I
we'll
can get
tag each
another
other
one.
out. Go get a beer. I'll talk a little bit, and then when we get back, you'll just jump into whatever I'm saying. Who knows what I'm talking about?
Deal.
Um,
I hope it's fitty.
okay. Yeah. No. Go ahead. So something this week, and I think Cam had said this. I know he just left, but Cam had talked about earlier that is a good game this week. He feels like it's a good value is Josh Allen. What was that last week? I'm trying to pull them up from last week real quick. I wonder how these people actually do this like quickly. Okay, he threw the ball 51 times last week, and they only scored what was the score? 16 points. Yikes! He had 2 fumbles. So 2 fumbles, I mean, which is not bad. So I think Josh Allen is not a bad play this week. I was listening to somebody today, and they were saying that Josh Allen has finished as like QB. It's against the Dolphins. Sorry, so against the Dolphins, he finished QB like 14 last week in Week 18. He only played one half, but still had 20 points. I would not expect that. I was actually going to pick uh, Miami as a sleeper defensive pick this week, But I think Josh Allen, and I think this game, I think that they can. Man, my voice cracks a lot for being 28 years old. I think he could be a good play this week, and Stephon Diggs. I think last week 13 targets. I think that he's just who they throw to. Zach Moss is out this week. Um, Stephon Diggs, what a story! Going from the number two in Minnesota, and then being but you could argue one of the best receivers in the league, top three, top four. So yeah, and I think if you want to bring it back on the Dolphins side, man, I don't know. Jaylen Waddle, what did he? So last week, 5 targets. He had a good game. Had a touchdown. He had that in the red zone with Mac Jones. So, he had a good week. I wonder what he's going to do whenever old Willie Fuller comes back.
Love Jaylen Waddle.
Yes, yeah, Jalen Waddle's the man. Will Fuller is out again. Personal. If Will Fuller stays healthy his entire career, where would you rank him? Like, let's say just this year he's healthy. He's Will Fuller. Where would you put? And And don't think about Tua as his quarterback. So Tua's not the greatest. Like, where would you put Will Fuller as a wide receiver if he was like healthy?
You're talking about this year, like
Yeah, I mean, you think about, let's say, I mean, yeah, just this year, what he would rank if he was fully healthy. And now he has Tua as a quarterback, so
yeah.
that kind of,
So I think he is healthy. I think he's out for personal reasons
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this
No,
week,
yeah,
and he
I'm
was
sorry.
suspended the first game for something. But yeah,
PEDs.
like like Will Fuller, I think he's just he's a top 30 wide receiver who always has that upside.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what
I
I
can.
mean? Like he is one again. He's one of those guys that two, three times a season he'll put up 50, and then the rest of the season he just has crippling hamstring injuries.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think as his floor is top 30. If he plays all year, his ceiling could be top 10, top 15. So Cam, I was just talking about you were pretty big on Josh Allen this week and Stephon Diggs. Do you know
Yeah,
he threw
so
the if do you, let me ask you this? Do you know how many times he threw the ball last week?
Josh Allen,
Yes.
I mean, it had to be in the mid to upper 40s,
Give me a number. What do you think he threw?
43,
51 times.
51. So like if you look at that offense, right? Like their running backs suck. I'm sorry, but Zach Moss and Devin Singletary just aren't it.
Zach
They're
Moss is
they're
out again this week.
they're capable of taking a handoff, and they're capable of catching a pass. But like I think that's what this team is missing is like a like if this team had a Dalvin Cook, they would be unstoppable.
Well, I think the offense would change. I think Josh Allen is Dalvin Cook in the red zone. I think he had 18 points last week. That's tough. That 7,200 is cheap for Josh Allen. I'm looking at that. That's cheap.
Yeah, that's why he's by far my favorite quarterback this week in terms of I think he's going to outproduce that value. And if you can find a way to put Stephon Diggs in there as well, like again, Stephon Diggs is one of those like he is a top 5 wide receiver in the league easy in my opinion. Um,
Yeah,
he gets the
easy.
volume. He's an incredible route runner. He also has,
13
the ability to
targets.
score as well. So the reason I'm not putting him in my lineups this week is just, again, he's a bit more expensive than the three earlier guys that I mentioned. But, Josh Allen, more than happy to put him in my lineups this week for sure.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and do my like a little hot take, like upset of the week kind of thing.
Okay.
I think Miami might win this game.
I don't know about that. You, what makes you say that?
It's just like you know how you talked about earlier. Sometimes you just got to go with your nuts,
Okay. Yeah.
and that's me going with my nuts.
We should do an upset pick of the week. That would be cool.
Also, like if you look at the money lines, right? So if you're scrolling through, that's one of the tighter ones.
Yeah. I think because it's in Miami, and I think people usually play pretty bad Miami right now because it's so damn hot. Yeah, that's. I mean, I would. That's not a bad pick. I think that's a good upset. I think my upset of the week is going to be the Raiders against Pittsburgh. I really think I maybe the Baltimore is this bad, but I think what how Derek Carr. Let's talk about Derek Carr. Do you like or hate Derek Carr? Just in general.
So Derek Carr is the quarterback, like him just fine. That that Las Vegas offense, I hate it. Henry Ruggs, absolute speedster, love my Bama guys, nowhere to be seen. Brian Edwards, the star from camp, he caught some big passes in the fourth quarter, nowhere to be seen the entire game.
Darren Waller,
Josh
baby.
Josh Jacobs is hurt. He's not playing this week. If you want to, just to absolute punt at the running back position, um, they've come out and said that Peyton Barber is going to be the RB1 in this offense. Um, I don't buy that for a second. If I'm being honest, I think Kenyon Drake's going to get most of the targets and most of the workload there. Hunter Renfro is a beast, but like he's like Cole Beasley.
Yes.
Like nobody gets hyped to play Cole Beasley in a cash lineup. He's gonna get targets, but they're 5 yards down the field and he's not gonna score. And so yeah, to your point, everything in this offense goes through Darren Waller.
19
19
targets.
targets last week. I think the only person that I think Devonte Adams had like the same amount of targets. I think he was the only one that even came close. Um, so yeah, like if you can find a way to, plug Darren Waller in there, I don't think you can go wrong with that. But Pittsburgh does have just a nasty defense, so I would temper my expectations on any of those guys.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the one person who can play Darren Waller well is Minka Fitzpatrick. I think he's just a freak of nature. I think Darren Waller. I said I love Derek Carr this week. I do. He's 5,300, and they're gonna throw the ball. They can't run against Pittsburgh, so like, yeah, it's gonna be like 56 times. He threw for 435 yards against the Ravens defense, who I would say is probably one of the coming into the season one of the top defenses. I know they had Marcus Peters go down. I think they've had some really gruesome injuries, and that game could have. I mean, they're not going to be starting that game because I had LeBar and Mark Andrews in year long fantasy, but I do like Derek Carr this week. I like him as a sneaky tournament play.
Yeah,
Um,
there's two quarterbacks in the league that I think get really they get shit on, and I think they are really good quarterback talents, and that's Derek Carr and Daniel Jones for me. Like I like both of those guys. That
yeah.
doesn't make them good fantasy plays. But just to flip the script on that game because we didn't talk about any of the guys on the Steelers side of the ball.
Uh huh.
Um, Najee Harris, I know he's a rookie, um,
I like him this
but
week.
last week he was the only running back that saw the field. He was in there for 100% of the offensive snaps, and that just doesn't happen anymore in the NFL. And so to be able to get that level of, if he's on the field, there's a chance he's going to see opportunity, and so you always play that. Then of course you got Deontay Johnson, he's target monster. Um,
Did you watch this game, by the way? Ugly game.
yeah, I did. So like Pittsburgh was like, the first half it was like, okay, what happened to this team? But they really brought it back the second.
Yeah, I think Big Ben's holding them back. I think if Pittsburgh had, I mean, I don't say Deshaun Watson. But like if they had a quarterback that, you know, I couldn't even tell you who's in the offseason, but if they would have got, I know Aaron Rodgers rumors were there, but like imagine if they had Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. That would be scary. With
Yeah,
the
I mean,
defense, I mean, it's yeah, that would be scary. So I think we've kind of hit on a little bit of not every game. There's some games like Houston, Cleveland. I think if you want to play, I think Tyrod Taylor is a great story, but I think if you want to, I don't know if I trust him against that defense in Cleveland. I think Nick Chubb's an okay play. I think Baker's okay play with Jarvis. I think there's nothing crazy. San Fran and Philadelphia. I mean, I don't know. Again, I mean, anything on those games, Cam, you want to touch on? Because I do want to
um,
build that tournament lineup.
yeah. So San Francisco, Philadelphia. I think this is again like setup or upset. Sorry,
Yes,
um, that I could potentially see. Like I think Philly might win that game.
I do too.
And for
I'm
that
up for the same.
reason, looking at especially when you're looking at defense, um, and the cost there. Philly's defense last week was very disruptive. Um, they played really well. Granted, it was Atlanta, so take it with a grain of salt. But for the price that they're at this week, I'm taking them everywhere I can get them. And even Vegas even is in alignment with that. The money line is very it's very thin.
Sacks and turnovers,
Um,
baby. That's what I see out of Vegas's defense.
yeah, so let's see what happens with that. I think they're by far the best value.
So
Um,
okay, why not? What about Miles Sanders? Talk about Miles Sanders. Do you like him this week? Do you not like him this week?
I mean, I'm staying away from that backfield altogether. Like if you pull up his stats, it's he is getting a good bit of volume there, but there have been games historically where like Boston Scott has come in and sniped half of it. and I don't know. I just don't feel confident that there's going to be consistent volume there, and that may just be me like having a bad like that may not be factually accurate at all, but for some reason it's just like burned in me that that's the case.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna play him a lot this week. I think he's one of my favorite quarterbacks. Good old Jared Goff put up insane. Now I don't know what he did last week off the top of my head, but I mean, put up third. They had 30 points last week. Cam
Who was that? Sorry,
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff. I mean, he had to have,
I'm trying to look up his little stats right now.
and 25 of those 30 went to T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's insane. He probably how many targets did he have? Do you know?
It was up there. I
Lions.
don't off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm looking right now what they had. Passing. Let's see. Jared Goff had 338 yards, three touchdowns, one interception. Um, I think that's awesome. I mean, that's crazy. Jared Goff, where is he at? Receiving. Or not, T. Hawkinson. 11 targets, 8 for 97 touchdown. Okay, I like that. Um, okay. All right. Well, let's make this lineup. Cam, are you ready for it?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to one guy that we didn't touch on, and maybe we covered the game and I just forgot to mention, but I think David Montgomery, well, two guys. So David Montgomery, big on him this week.
Yes.
Um, I think he's going to outperform expectations. Like I don't again, like he's one of those guys where if you can pull up his stats from last year, um,
$6,100, dude.
yeah, so like you're looking at 6,100 and he's going to get, 20 opportunities throughout the course of the game. And again, looking at his stats from last season, the last I don't know last quarter of it, he was a monster. He absolutely went off. I, he's just very underrated, I think. So I
I
think he's a smash play at running back.
Yep,
Um,
I completely agree. But I think last year too, being a Bears fan, I love DM. I love what he's about. Very easy schedule and Bill Lazor. Bill Lazor is calling plays, not Matt Nagy. But the easy matchup this week. So yes, I like DM as a play.
and then the other guy is Jonathan Taylor. If you're, I think he's viable in both cash and tournament. To be honest with you, so he's playing the Rams, and I'm trying to find. I screenshotted this stat that I saw earlier this week. Give me a second to try to find it.
Yeah, I mean, I think as he's looking for that, he had 17 rushes for 56 yards, and he had 7 targets. I think that's impressive. I think the game script last week, you would expect Naeem Hines. I played Naeem Hines last week in one of my tournament lineups. He didn't do any. Why is my voice doing? Oh my god. I mean, he didn't do anything. And
Yeah,
Taylor, I think it'll be the same kind of script this week. I think LA, the Rams, are going to put up some points.
yeah. So I'm just gonna read this tweet. This is why I'm bringing him up. I saw this earlier this week, and it kind of stuck out to me. So these are the last three running backs to face the Rams. One, David Montgomery. He had 17 touches for 118 yards and a touchdown. Then you had Aaron Jones, had 15 touches, 113 yards and a touchdown. Then you had Chris Carson, who had 17 touches for 82 yards. And you look at this week, Jonathan Taylor had 24 combined carries and targets with a terrible game script, like you said, and still performed well. And so all that being said, that carries over. I think Jonathan Taylor set up for a really good week.
Yeah, I really like him. I think we'll kind of change with the format on here because I think we did leave out some different players, and maybe just start going by position. I think JT Jonathan Taylor's a good pick this week. DM's a good pick this week.
Yeah,
I think Joe Mixon. Honestly, I think Joe Mixon is going to be a very good tournament play. The Bears front seven, the defense is getting older. I mean, Daryl Henderson was running pretty easily on them. And I think Joe Mixon will be in one of my tournament lineups. So okay, let's do this dance. So I think came with this. I think what we should do is just be as out there as we can be.
And so this is a tournament lineup, right? This is our millie maker,
Yep.
essentially.
Yep.
Okay, I gotcha.
So I think defense. Let's. How do you start your lineups? I start with I do my locks. I try to find a cheap
So
defense pretty
I
early.
only play cash, and whenever I start my lineups, so I always put a well, I'm not gonna say always. Usually, I go with three running backs,
Yep.
three running backs that I know are gonna get 20 to 22, 25 touches, and that's who I start with. I figure out who those guys are, and then build around it.
Yeah, and I think for tournaments that's something too. Is I've always kind of like to go back and look at who wins the millie and just wish I was them, and I
Yeah,
think they played like three wide receivers, four wide receivers. They played double tight ends. Um, they play three running backs sometimes. Just depends. So I think when I start these lineups, especially for tournaments, I go back to the totals, right? I think of a good game total that I want to attack that nobody or that was I don't want to say out of the normal. Um,
yeah.
I what do you see, Cam? What do you see in the first look? Like, what are you thinking about?
So you asked me earlier if I'm a fan of stacking.
Uh
And
huh.
in cash games, like I said, not really because it kind of leaves me with that like weird spot on my roster. But in tournaments, I think it's almost a necessity. Because if you can nail down that one quarterback and that one wide receiver or tight end that, the quarterback throws two touchdowns to that one guy, like you're gonna win some money that week, more than likely, assuming your other guys aren't just total duds.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start clicking
Um,
people, and you just keep talking. I'm just gonna kind of see what this looks like. Keep going.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, like to me, like the foundation of a tournament lineup for me, and we kind of touched on this earlier. It's two of my favorite guys, Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
So, boom, boom. So we need to find some value. We need to find some value because that's pretty expensive off the bat.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think about Daryl Henderson as a? I don't like that price. Okay, so sorry. I think so with that. So with Buffalo and Miami, that's a good stack. I think those two can. I mean, Allen can get you 30, and Diggs can get you 20 to 30. So I think that's a good start. I think running backs for me. I think people that I like this week. I think Damian Harris for 5,400. Um, I like that. But what do you think about? Do you believe in like Belichick's gonna punish him for fumbling?
Uh, I don't know. So to me, like, what you want to know what I'm honestly worried about in that game
What's
is
that?
that New England goes up by so much that Ramondre Stevenson plays for like a quarter and a half.
Yeah, but I think if Carolina did blow them out last week, I think Carolina's a better team than.
Oof.
Uh, yeah, I think they're pretty close.
Um, Other running backs, from a tournament standpoint, mentioned him earlier as well. Zeke, terrible week last week. I don't, I really don't know. Is he going to have a lot of
Ownership, I
market
think I,
share this week?
I think
But
he will. I really do think. One person who I'm kind of sneaky uh liking this week is Javonte Williams. They're playing against Jacksonville. He
yeah, so
is. Go ahead.
no, I was just say like so, Javonte Williams. You're looking at split carries no matter what happens.
Yeah, no, I mean absolutely. But I think it's when I think about tournaments, and that could be completely wrong because I've never won tournaments. But it's just my thinking is if I play Javante Williams at 4,400, and what if he gets a Melvin Gordon run? I think Melvin Gordon won people a lot of money last week if they played him because he
Yeah,
had how many points did he have last week? He had
uh,
hold on,
18, 20, something like that.
yeah. So I mean, if you can get 18 to 20 out of
Just
a
scroll past in there.
a
Yeah.
4,400,
Oh
twenty-three
yeah,
point eight.
23.
Yeah, and he had that
And
one
so, so,
one over seven
so to
yards.
me, like I would almost do the flip side of the coin is like, okay, and nobody played Melvin Gordon last week, right? And if they did, or maybe they did, I don't know. But like, who looks at Melvin Gordon this week and they're like, okay, he's gonna do the same thing this week?
I think a lot of people. I think because like
Really?
if you look at like when I listen to my podcast this week and I look at like Twitter, like people are like talking about Melvin Gordon like to stay away from him. Well, I say stay away from because I think a lot of people are like chopping at the bit because a lot of people who don't really watch the games like they see a stat like, oh my god, Melvin Gordon's back to his Charger his Charger days. Um,
Yeah,
you know, I really like. I think with these lineups, like especially if we're putting like this into win a mill, I think you just have to be very outside the box.
yeah, yeah. I'm down with Javonte Williams then. I don't mind that at all.
Well, so like right now, like we look at this lineup, so we have pretty cheap at running back. So I think where are you looking? I mean, we have to have. I think we have to have at least one more alpha, at least.
One more alpha.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So like we have two wide receivers and a tight end that are open.
so we're looking at 5,600 essentially per player at this point. Um,
I like your Cooper Cup take. I think I like A Rob, Julio, Mike Evans. I think like here is where somebody because I don't think would you did you even think about playing A Rob this week at all?
no, not at all.
So that's what I mean. Like, what if Matt Nagy comes out and says, "Screw it, we're gonna go down the field and score," because I mean they couldn't get the ball 10 yards, but I think that was their game plan. Um,
Yeah,
Mike Evans,
actually,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I'd say Mike Evans is going to be. I mean, I think people will go back to Mike Evans this week because everybody's like, "Oh, he had an off week." So let's. I think the people who win the big money are one lucky. You have to be lucky to win that, and two, like they kind of understand the who people aren't looking at.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, guy. So looking at this list right here, guys, people aren't looking at Julio, obviously. Um, A Rob and Mike Evans, I think, are both great examples. Um, Robbie Anderson, I think, might be a sneak guy too. He had one target.
Three
It
targets,
says
one
three.
reception.
It says three. That's just not accurate.
Cam's in the weeds. He's doing the playbook, watching
So like
film.
those three so the extra two were like Sam Darnold just throwing it away, and he was the closest receiver. He had one legitimate
I
target.
do like I
I
do
was
like
very
Robbie Anderson because no one's gonna want to play him. I do like that.
yeah, and so like I Robbie Anderson is a top 25 fantasy wide receiver by end of season, 100%. And I think people are really going to stay away. Like if you watch the game, it's like okay, he's not going to be featured at all.
What if we went Robert Woods? So I think Cooper Cup is a very good play, but like I think Robert Woods is cheaper, and I think maybe Jared Goff liked him more. But like I don't mind a Robert Woods.
Okay, another sneaky guy is Ayuk, Brandon Ayuk. 49ers, so he's going to be a starting wide. He didn't get a single target.
So he said he's gonna give a chance. I read the thing today. So I mean, so this is one. If you play him and he doesn't play, right? Like, whew.
Like I'm just going through guys where like, okay, this person could score a touchdown. Like they're going to be on the field and no one is
So
playing them.
with the tournaments, though, I think with the tournaments, one thing we need to look at is like who has a chance to not just score one touchdown, who has a chance to have a big game, like
Yeah,
who can game break, who can slate break. Like I think Josh Allen can, Demetrius Harris, I don't think can. Zeke might be able to.
Demetrius.
Stephon Diggs, like that's the kind of thing. Like if we look at like here, I think Gronk would be fine if we played Gronk. Stuff like that. Like that's why I think Brandon
Yeah,
Ayuk
I
like
gotcha.
he could. I mean, when he played last year, he was insane. He was insane. I mean, there's these. I think these take more time. I think maybe next time we try to maybe do a little bit of research and I won't just
Yeah,
text you
100%.
5 hours. Hey, let's do this. Um,
A couple of other guys, Tim Patrick there. Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler. I'm a bigger fan of Tim Patrick. Also, Cortland Sutton is another guy. I don't know how much he cost this week, but like any of those guys could
52.
score.
Yeah, I like Cortland Sutton. I think Tim Patrick. I'm playing him in a lot of cash. Um, I think your Marvin Jones might be a good tournament pick. I think I'd rather have
I love
Marvin
me some
Jones
Marvin.
than Ayuk because he's sneaky. Like nobody wants him. It's
Yeah.
4,700.
Yeah, I honestly love this lineup so far. The only one I'm not the biggest fan of is Javonte Williams, but
Yeah, and I think too. I think if we can get away from Zeke, because like we don't have like a big dog running back. I think
yeah.
we're not sure about any one of these guys. So let's do tight end, and we'll see what we got. Like tight ends, I punt. I'll tell you that right now. You know that about me. I punt.
Yep.
Um, what do you think
Oh,
about? Go ahead.
Dalton Schultz. Just gonna
Yes,
throw that out there.
yes. That's who I was looking for. He was.
Or I'm fine with either him or the or Blake Jarwin. Either one, whichever one's cheaper.
I think Jarwin's true. Yeah, by 2,000. Yeah, I like that. He's a good pick because I think everybody's gonna be going to CD and going to Cooper.
Yep.
Okay, so we have some money to play with now at this position. So 7,500. Like I said, like this one, you want someone who can be home run, like Tyler Lockett. It could be home run. Joe Mixon could be sneaky play. Um,
Jonathan Taylor.
do
Do
you
you
think
think
he?
anybody's playing JT in tournaments this week?
So the way I look at that is, I like Jonathan Taylor this week, and so do you. I think I would be comfortable playing this. Like if you and I are thinking about that, do you think other people are thinking about that? Well, I guess that's
I
kind of
I
a
don't know.
that's kind
Like
of a
I
crappy
just
take.
don't want to overthink it. Like
Oh, I do.
I think Jonathan Taylor could score 2 touchdowns and be an absolute smash.
I think Chris Carson scored 2 touchdowns. What if we play Kenyon Drake for 4,900?
The thing is, like, I like everybody that we have in our lineup except for so we just have to fill this position. It's like we really do have the money to be able to spend.
Okay, I'll tell you. We'll do the situation. Like we'll do to where like we have like one player we want. I think like this situation. Like you want JT. Like we'll do JT, and then we'll kind of see. We'll come back and review it. So for those who are listening, I don't know. Yeah.
No one's listening.
Anyways, whoever does listen to this, it's for week 2. We have Josh Allen for quarterback. We're going Demetrius Harris,
It's
Ezekiel.
Damian Harris. My God, you said Demetrius for
I did say
like
Demetrius, dude. I was. That's why no one's gonna listen to us. I go need go get another beer. Davey, I think I said Demetrius Harris a lot, dude. Oh my god. Damian Harris, Ezekiel Elliott. Our wide receivers are Stephon Diggs, Robbie Anderson, and Marvin Jones. Tight ends Blake Jarwin. Flex is Jonathan Taylor via Cam, and the defense is the Eagles. Well, we have $300. Should we go see whose defense is up there?
Uh, I I would almost take out Damian Harris or Demetrius and see who it because I do love the Eagles. I don't know how you feel
I
if
do.
you feel strongly about that at
I do.
all,
I
but
do. I don't like Jimmy
so,
Garoppolo.
so like who's available at the running back position if we take out Demetrius?
Yeah, Demile just kicked my ass.
You
Daryl
you
Henderson.
like Daryl Henderson and nobody is playing him.
Yes, sir. That's the lineup right there, baby.
I like it, dude. Dude, I honestly like no bullshit feel good about this.
Oh man, yeah. I feel I don't like I don't know. It's tough because like these tournament. Do you ever go back and see who wins these? Like, do you ever go look at the lineups?
I don't because it hurts too much to think that people are actually that big brained enough to like put that lineup and know they were going to win.
This will be the week that Cedric Wilson breaks the slate and nobody's playing him, and he has 45 points.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, gosh, we've been rolling for a while, Cam.
Yep. So to close this out here, if we win, let's say we do win the Millie Maker, what are we doing with the money?
I think we talked about last week, Cam. I think we're going to give a little bit to ourselves. We're going to split it, and then we're going to invest it. Go buy it. You want to buy a nice truck? I have a baby, a wedding, and everything else that's coming. So I'm going to use that for that, and um, you use it for whatever you want. What are you going to buy with yours?
Dude, if we win, I want 100 grand. You can have the rest. I just want to buy a nice truck and a couple McChickens
Couple of chicken, dude.
and come fly to see you and play a whole lot of golf and you're buying.
Yeah. That's we. If we win the millie, let's take 100 grand a piece. The rest we'll invest into our podcast.
Deal.
We'll
Deal.
we'll
Dude, we're
go.
gonna have the best setup.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, we're wrapping up here. I mean, should we? I mean, do we like put our Discord in there? Do we put? I mean, our socials. I don't think anybody really cares, but just in case.
So nobody's gonna watch this, but on the off chance that anybody is watching it, I don't even know where we're putting this thing. If
That's true.
leave a comment,
Yep. Yep.
send us an email.
Not an email. No,
You
no
know,
emails, please.
the United States Postal Service is a great mean of communication.
Yep.
Um, if you have a fax machine, whatever you have, feel free to let us know what you think, and feel free to hold us accountable for the takes and everything that we said here. And um, yeah, so we'll probably do 4 of these, maybe 5, and then we'll quit. But next season we're gonna try to improve. Um,
Yeah. Expect
yeah.
more structure too, and expect next time webcams. Webcams next time, and hopefully my allergies go away, so I don't sound like my nose is falling off my face. Okay.
All right,
Well, yeah.
buddy, I brought us in. Wrap us up.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. No one's gonna listen to this, but hey, Cam, it was always a good time with you, dude. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, same here, big titties.